So I'm Martin, I'm the supply chain manager here at Flow, very passionate about bees. I've been a beekeeper for many years. My brother is a queen breeder, and I'm very happy to be involved as part of this whole team. Because of my role at Flow, I probably had to build more of these than anyone else at this company, so they brought me into building this for you guys. So we're going to go over all the components of the Western Red Cedar Flow Hive Classic. So we've got the roof bits, which is to have the uprights, the roof slats. We've got the hardware kits, the roof screw kit, brood box screw kit, and the Honey Super Flute screw kit, as well as the accessory screw kit of all the nails and dials and everything else you need. We've got the screen bottom board strapped together with the queen excluder and the inner cover. We've got the brood box, Honey Super, the observation cover and lid, and we've got the standard Langstroth 8 brood frames. So when I'm building the Flow Hive Classic, I usually start from the bottom up. And this screen bottom board is strapped together with the queen excluder and the inner cover. So we'll get to the queen excluder and inner cover later. The screen bottom board has a integrated pest management built right in. It has a screen layer with a 3 mil gap that allows Varroa and small hive beetle to fall through and be trapped into the bottom. Underneath the screen bottom board is your core flute slider and your assembly guide. The screen bottom board has 2 locations for the core flute slider. This allows you to change the amount of ventilation within the hive. It's important to have the core flute slider in the upper slot when installing your bees or extracting your honey. By positioning the core flute slider in the lower slot, this allows you to make a simple and effective beetle trap. Click here to see how Cedar makes a DIY beetle trap. So next we're going to build the brood box. You'll know it's the brood box in bits by that there's no cutouts. So the Honey Super has a cut, and that's where the door that comes out. So we'll set that piece aside. So on the longer panels of the brood box, you'll know which pieces to use, as the Honey Super has spacers on each side. So we'll set those pieces aside. The way I like to start building my brood box is to set one of the end panels upside down, make sure the handle is upright, and then stack each individual piece with the handle upright into the proper location. Once everything is put together, it's important to keep the boxes square during assembly. And if you find this difficult, you can use the clamps as shown here to hold everything in place. The screw pack kit you're going to want to use is the one that's labeled Brood Box Screw Pack Kit. Now make sure if you're using a drill gun that you put your torque settings to a very low setting. I'm using a setting of 6 here, and you're seeing it works out pretty well. Despite being a hardwood, Western Red Cedar is very soft and can crack easily. Make sure you don't over tighten your screws. So that's the brood box complete. And here's the Honey Super. As you can see, the end piece is in 3 separate components. So when adding in the longer pieces, make sure you line up the side with the 3 pre-drills to go into the end piece. So the other side has no pre-drills, and that's to allow the rear window cover to be removed on and off. So make sure the end with the pre-drills go into the blank end. To help align things, you can set the rear window cover into place. Just don't screw it down. Now there's two sides to the end bar. The side with the pre-drill hole goes on the outside. Okay, and now we just screw it in place. For assembling the flow super, you're going to use the full flow screw kit. It's best to use clamps when putting this together. Now the rear window you won't want to screw down because this is the panel that you'll remove to access your flow frames. When installing your observation window, it's best to remove the clear film first. Now when installing this piece, you should use a very low torque setting to not crack anything. And you'll be using the small screws. These are all the different accessories for putting together the flow super, as well as the nails for the brood frames. For the observation window cover, we'll be using one of the small screws and the single knob. For each of the latches, you're going to need one of the longer screws and one of the supplied springs. Set the spring in from the small side into your screw, place it into your latch, and then simply screw it into place in the pre-drill location. You're not going to want to over tighten this screw. You want to just tighten enough to make the screw hold the latch in place. The spring just gives a little extra compression on the latch to hold it in place and to keep the screw just tight enough. So now you can see our observation window can be kept in place. Okay. So the rear window cover also needs two of the small knobs. Tool access panel cover, we'll need two of the small knobs. The rear window cover and the tool access panel are held in place by the hardware knob. The hardware knob is secured by using the longer screws and the spring. Place the screw inside the spring on the knob into the pre-drilled hole. And the final part of assembling your honey super is installing the metal bottom strip. For this step, I prefer pre-drilling the holes to reduce any chance of splitting. Now remember, you have quite a short screw, so don't pre-drill too deep. So that's the honey super fully complete. And before we set it on top of the brood box, we'll put on the queen excluder. The tool access panel and the rear window go to the rear of the hive. On top of the honey super goes the inner cover. The inner cover has a 2-inch hole to allow for feeder access. So now we're going to assemble the roof. The roof requires the side panels, the front, the back, the ridge cap, and the roof shingle panels. You know it's the front because the logo will be right up front. The side panels, you'll notice there's a slope, an angled slope that matches the slope of the end pieces, and that'll be the side you want to connect up to here. When assembling the roof, make sure all pieces are square and the top of the sides and the top of the end pieces are flush. When assembling the roof, make sure the back panel is flush to the side at the top. This gives space for the rear tool access panel. When assembling the shingle panels, make sure the ridges go down. One great way to ensure your roof shingle panels are properly mounted is to set a screw so that the point just slightly comes out. Make sure and line it up exactly perfect. You get it right on center to just make a small dot. Once you've lined it up exactly on center, you can make a pre-drill hole. When making your pre-drill, ensure that your pre-drilled hole is perpendicular to the front panel. This helps ensure that you won't have any splitting on your front and rear panels. Line up your pre-drilled hole. Slightly get the screw in place. And mark the rear pre-drill hole by just pressing the screw head in the hole. Once you've set the first panel in place, the rest of the panels will go in easily. When setting their lower roof shingle in place, make sure it slides into the lip of the upper roof shingle. When installing the top ridge cap, do it the same. Set it into place and make a quick pre-drill. So that completes the construction of the external components of the Western Red Cedar Flow Hive Classic. Western Red Cedar is an incredibly durable timber. It has beautiful color variations and knots throughout, and it'll last a very long time. It's one of the most weather durable outdoor timbers available. One feature you'll notice of the gabled roof is the cutout on the back. That cutout allows access to the rear tool access panel on the back of the hive. So now we'll go through the construction of one of the brood frames to show you how it's done. The brood frame consists of a top bar, bottom bar, the end pieces, and the comb guide. We recommend using the comb guides as a natural foundation. However, the frames are designed to be able to take standard wax or plastic foundation as well. So when building your brood frames, assemble the end pieces onto the top bar, all the way bottom bar. Pretty straightforward. Place one nail into the bottom bar. When placing the remaining 4 nails in the top bar, some prefer to put 2 nails in the top. I prefer to put 1 nail in the top and 1 nail in the opposite direction. This can be a little bit tricky to make sure you align the nails up so they don't hit each other. The comb guide should be held in place by a small bead of wood glue. So there's your bird frame. All 8 will go into the box side by side. So there we have it, a fully constructed Western Red Cedar Flow Hive Classic.
We're going to be making lots more videos, so make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep up with all the latest.